thanks so much for joining us for another edition of the Bloody Legends with Jai, that Aussie metal guy, and Jim Taylor, brought to you by crank.com. Make sure you're a bloody legend and hit that like and subscribe.
G'day, how you all going? It's Jai, that Aussie metal guy with crank.com. So today, tonight, wherever you are in the world, it's a great pleasure that we present another edition of the Bloody Legends with my ever-reliable co-host and partner in crime, Jim Taylor. Today, tonight, we do have a legend on his own there, John Yelland, really cool guy. I did get to chat with him, I think it was last year. He is the dynamic vocalist of American power metal band Judicator, which I've been fucking rocking out to for quite a while. They are due to release their highly anticipated 7th album, Concord, which does release March 28th. They did have a campaign, a Kickstarter campaign behind it. Judicator is back and more powerful than ever. The latest single is Concord, and they are set to perform at Epic Fest, which we did get to chat about last time, John. I know you're excited about. So thank you so very much for chatting to me about the forthcoming album and everything else you've got going on, mate.
Yeah, so very happy to be chatting with you guys, and good to see you again, man.
Mate, it's always good to see you, dude. Congratulations on the release of the forthcoming album. It will drop just before you get over to Epic Fest. Tell me all about Concord, what inspired the themes and stories behind this album for you, mate.
Yeah, Concord has its seeds planted way back in 2014. I was studying abroad in Germany, and I had been over there for like maybe a month or so. And I found myself just daydreaming in a homesick way about the American West. I was like, the Sawtooth Mountains, the beautiful deserts of Nevada, that kind of thing. And for as much love as I have for German cuisine, food, culture, history, all that kind of thing, that experience, I think, told me that no matter where I go or what I do, I bleed red, white, and blue. So, but that stuck with me just because I was like, man, I have this love for the American West built into my psyche, I guess. So from that point forward, I had it in my head. I always wanted to do an album about the American West. So, this album cycle presented me with the opportunity to do so. So I crafted the concept. I would say it's a loose concept album. It's more like a smattering of songs about the Wild West, the American West in general, the West in general. Because we've got songs based on like movies. We have a song based on 310 to Yuma, the movie. We have a song about Cormac McCarthy's Blood Meridian. We have songs about history. So we've got one about Bass Reeves, one about the massacre at Wounded Knee, the Homestead Act, the aforementioned Sawtooth Mountains. So beautiful America, this kind of thing. And some more general songs about like who we are as a people and where we're at, sort of a crossroads in history. So there's a lot going on with this album, lyrically and conceptually, and I think it's going to resonate with a lot of people, whether or not you are an American.
I reckon this is right down your fucking ballpark there, Jim.
Yeah, I was very entranced by that because my first thought was, so the title of your record's Concord. The first thing I thought, I was like, dude, if they're doing American Revolution, but you know what I mean, and it was a pleasant surprise. I'm a big history guy. I mean, in fact, this room where I'm sitting right now. This is me and my folks' farm in Pennsylvania, outside a town called Fort Loudon, where in 1775 the first shots of the Revolution were shot here.
Wow.
This house is 1790. Now, I've turned it into a recording area, but what struck me is, yeah, you guys remind me of bands like Sabaton that are you base your lyrical content on either literature or history. That was cool. The first, you mentioned Cormac McCarthy with Blood Meridian. I read that visiting my fraternity brother in Glasgow. I read that in the road back to back. So to hear
Wow.
someone who's taken that and then actually Friday, well, every night, cigars and westerns with me and my father. So to hear 310 to Yuma being included in lyrical content, are you kidding me? That's rad. The next thing, we're gonna make a concept album out of the, Magnificent Seven. Let's go, man. Anyway, and please talk about that, like your influences a little more, if that's
Yeah,
you
I
know.
mean, you mentioned Sabaton, and it just makes me think about there are so many European bands, I think, first of all, who tell us about like Viking history, European history, British history, whatever.
Mm.
And I know there are bands out there who have sung about American history, but I think I just this was not a goal going into it, but it's just nice. Like, oh, now here's an album that can contribute to. Here's some cool stories about American history. I have had over the course of Judicator's history, people ask us, "Are you ever going to do American history?" And that was always a little bit of uh, a question I was hesitant to answer too much because
Mm.
I feel like the closer to the present you get, the more difficult it is to be unbiased and that kind of thing. And on
Sure,
top of that,
sure.
the United States is a relatively young country, so
Right.
um, I don't know that I would want to do something about Revolutionary War history or Vietnam or World War II or something like that.
Mm.
On top of that, I mean, speaking of Sabaton, it's been done.
Yeah.
So I know that there is work out there about the Wild West, but comparing what we did with Concord to other bands who have done similar stuff, I really feel we have something that is unique and stands on its own.
I definitely do, and I love the style of you guys. As I mentioned in the last one, you guys have also talked about saying about Napoleon Bonaparte, Frederick the Great, and other great moments in history. And for me, I'm a massive history nerd. It's probably, as you mentioned, so close to home to be able to write stuff about America as well, like that too. Kind of as you said, with the unbiased opinion and kind of. I don't know. It would get a little bit sensitive at time, but I really feel like the tracks you've chosen and how you've done this is just going to come across so bloody well and perfect timing right before that Epic Fest. And I did notice that you guys had a Kickstarter campaign for this one as well. How important is it for you guys to have that support from your fans to get behind the creation of music and kind of support you guys going forward, considering the state of the music industry at the moment?
We were in a very interesting point in our career because we did two albums with Prosthetic Records,
Yes.
and having worked with them for a while, seeing what they did and all that kind of thing, I was taking note. Like, could I do this? Could we do that? Um, and there's a list for either side. You know, there's a list of stuff that we could do if we just work a little harder, and there's a list of things that you need certain contacts, you need a certain huspa to do certain things. So, I'm not saying that record labels are pointless, but where we ended up falling on the decision was we were going to do this album on our own. And so we had done a Kickstarter before to fund our third album At the Expense of Humanity. And so we took a shot, and we really scrutinized what is the bare minimum we need, and we came up with a very specific number of, I think it was $7,100. But really, everything said and done, we needed probably like 11 grand. But I was really, really, really surprised and humbled that we ended up bringing in close to $10,000. I think it was like 9,500 bucks. So yeah, I was very, very pleased with how successful the Kickstarter campaign was. Made me feel like $1,000,000.
That's it, and you're at least able to buy some ramen noodles for the week that you're recording too. So it's. I think it's more and more bands. I've noticed more and more bands have started doing this over the years since Spotify's come in, because it's like the one way you can kind of get that support from the fans, reach them, you know, and go and work out kind of the want and the need for your albums. And then when you get that feedback, you're like, man, people really want this music out. And I think it's going to have to be more and more the people that do want these albums from their bands to kind of kick in that support going forward as well. Because unfortunately, you're making all these albums a lot of the time at a cost, and it costs you money. And then, you know, and we all do it because we love it. We're not doing this just because we want to make, we got into metal and we do what we do because we love it. But it'd also be good to kind of be able to afford these albums, and more these Kickstarter campaigns are going to have to happen where people chip in before, kind of get behind and be a part of the album making process in a sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, growing us, our brand and our fan base, we've assessed, you know, what our capabilities are. This Kickstarter has been interesting because we underestimated our capabilities and our fan base. So, you know, that poses certain, presents certain opportunities moving forward.
Yep.
But the other thing I think about too is when we were under our last record label, we were given like $4,500, which is a lot, but it doesn't cover everything. So we're still dipping out of our own pocket. So, you know, I mean, I time will tell how good or bad of a decision this was, but ultimately, I'm not doing this out of any illusions of grandeur that we're going to become the next Iron Maiden or we're going to headline Wacken open air or something. Ultimately, why I do this is because I like it. I want to do it. And I find that with every album we produce, I learn something new about myself and the way that I relate to the world. So for me, producing music is a sort of therapy or like spiritual experience, you know?
Yeah, damn straight. The Last Emperor and Let There Be. The Last Emperor was the one where I found you guys and kind of been following. I think that was 2018. Absolutely ripping album that kind of, all your music has been unreal, but the latest single at Concord it is a really, really cool track to kind of kick off this album. It is the namesake of the album as well. Tell me a little bit about this track and some of the themes that you kind of explored with this track.
Let me see. Concord is kind of an interesting song because where do I start? So this song and part of the album started when I was at a party and I heard, I forget his name. His name is Israel something. He's the big fat Hawaiian guy who did the Somewhere Over the Rainbow song on the mandolin. I can never remember the last name.
And forgiveness to my Samoan and Hawaiian friends. Yeah, it's like, I can see it, brother. I'm right there with you. And I will not say his last.
Yeah.
You're there.
But in any case,
called him Is. But I got you. Is, yeah. You got it.
I was at a party.
Pantheon de Israel, sorry people, Kai, we all, sorry people.
That's
the one. Yeah, look, I'm an Australian. I annihilate every name. Sorry people.
We all know exactly who I'm talking about.
We're there. Yeah. Well done, Judd.
Yeah. So I was at a party and I heard this song come on and I was absolutely spellbound. And I was like, I turned to my wife and I'm like, do you know who this is? Like, I need to know who this is. Sure. And this, by this point, the song was like halfway done, but she pulled out some app on her phone where you can identify whatever song is being played. And it was a song by Is called Hawaii 78. And the song is basically about how would our ancestors feel if they came back and saw all of our sacred lands covered in railroad tracks and street lights and concrete jungle and all this kind of thing. Would they cry? What would they think? And I'm getting goosebumps now, but it just made me think, like the Hawaiian people, I've had a decent amount of exposure to the people of Hawaii, and they have a connection with the land that I don't think a lot of Americans do.
Yep.
And I have, because I grew up in an environment, sort of a redneck environment where there was more of an attachment to the land and to the people and culture. But as I have over the years become more and more of a city slicker, I've noticed that's not the case. And it just made me think, you know, there was something that I was a bit envious in that experience. I was like, I want that for myself more. I want to recapture that, and I would love it. I think it's important. It's so important. And so, anyway, Concord, Call Us Out of Slumber, a couple other songs on the album Concord were sort of started with that experience, because from that song onward, that song stuck with me for a long time. And I really felt like I needed to express the things that I'm telling you and sort of identify like what's wrong with who we are right now and what we're doing and what we might be able to do to get back on course. I don't think I answer all of those questions in the album, but I think I at least put it out there that it's bugging me. So Concord, the song in particular, is, I would say, sort of an anthem for the world weary. Thank you. I'm being very mindful. I'm sick at the moment, so every time I'm about to cough, I mute. But anyway, to conclude my rant, the song Concord is, I call it an anthem for the world weary. It's basically just about how horrible things are, I guess you could say, and how you kind of just, I'm just ready for everything to end, you know. Let me go, Father. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to call it quits.
Why the world needs musicians like you, brother. Keep us.
Yeah, perhaps.
Yeah, but you definitely do notice that disconnect sometimes. I'm going to go a little bit off tangent here, but like, because I live in the country, and people kind of get the wrong opinion of us metalheads, but I notice a lot more that dichotomy between the city and country, regardless of if you're in America or in Australia. People in the country tend to care more about the land, and even people farming and looking after the land want to do the right thing by the environment. So they've still got these fucking farms going for their next generation and to carry it on anyway. So yeah, that was a very, very interesting point, and one that is very bloody valid across the music. But your music also, as we mentioned, does blend historical events, folklore, themes of cultural disconnection, and like we just talk about. How do you manage to balance all these elements to kind of create a cohesive narrative in your music, man?
Well, that was sort of an interesting thing about this album is with this album, like I said, it's sort of a smattering of songs that are related, but it's not like A to Z concept album. So this character does this, and then this happens, and then conclusion. So I don't have much to say beyond we just tried to find the right we tried to order the songs in a way that offered the best flow.
Yep. Mm-hmm. What was the recording process like? Where did you record? When did you record this one?
A lot of this was recorded at home. The drums were recorded at a place in Provo, Utah called Cold House.
Yep. And
yeah, we mixed and edited with Carlos Alvarez, who has done, I think at this point, the majority of our work. And we mastered with Brett Caldas Lima, who's done work with Devin Townsend, Arion, a whole bunch of heavy hitters like that.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, and there we go. Okay, cool. Sorry, just lost you for a sec, guys. And you guys have been going around for quite a while. I think somewhere last time it was like 2012 or something like that. And you've gone through a few changes and evolution as well since the formation. How has the journey been for you personally, mate? And have there been any real pivotal moments for Judicator that kind of, really kind of cemented where you're at, or made you, think about things or anything like that?
Yeah, that's been interesting because we started Judicator from nothing. It was myself and Alicia Cordisco just doing basically a bedroom album project, and that got a little bit of attention. So we thought, we'll do another album. So that got more attention, and we got an amount of attention that basically told us we should actually make a band out of this. So that's when we made At the Expense of Humanity. But yeah, so from At the Expense of Humanity onward, we really tried to grow and work hard and turn this into the very best that it could be. We got signed to Prosthetic Records. We've performed internationally performing our first European festival at Epic Fest in a couple months. But yeah, as far as pivotal moments goes, in 2020, Alicia left the band, and that was a tumultuous experience. It was a wake-up call to me in a lot of ways, because it was not a parting that was on amicable terms. There was a big falling out. So it required a lot of growth on my end and probably both ends. And I'm very fortunate, and I count myself blessed that since then, we have since become friends again, mended bridges and that kind of thing. So that's great. And there's a possibility we might work together again in the future. But all that being said, we've been a band now for over 10 years, and that's wild to think. Because on the one hand, I think, when we started out, there was some illusions of grandeur. There was some, we're going to be the next Iron Maiden, and we're going to headline Wacken open air. Yeah. And, there are bands, contemporaries even, who are going out and doing that kind of thing. And I say, hell yeah, go and do it. But for me, I really grinded and worked hard in my 20s, but I got to a point where I was like, I'm working hard, I'm grinding, and I'm not quite getting the results that I want. I can't put the rest of my life on hold. So I did the classic thing where it's like, all right, I got married. And then it's like, okay, I had a kid. And now it's like, okay, my wife's pregnant, we're having another kid. So on the one hand, I'm trying to have my cake and eat it too, by being a family man and also being as involved in the metal world as possible. But on the other hand, I think I'm to a point now where, like we were talking about, we are really fortunate. We are able to produce music at very little personal cost now, which is a huge win. How many bands can say that they can do that? So yeah, while we're not Blind Guardian, Iron Maiden, fine, we still have reached a level that is commendable, and I'm very grateful for. But yeah, I think we are not so focused on touring and becoming the biggest band that we can. I think we're very much of the mindset right now that we want to make music work for us rather than the other way around. And I think as long as our expectations are realistic, that's a pretty attainable goal. And so far it has shown itself to be.
Damn straight. And I think that's a great attitude. Wow. Sorry, Jim. I think that's a great attitude, John, because I really connect to that a lot. And anyone watching this at this point, listen to John. If there's something you want to do, like when you're first starting out, you're like, I'll just make music in my room. I just want to start doing it. And you just kind of keep grinding. And that word grinding, because anyone doing anything or getting into this, it is a fucking grind. Every overnight success takes 20 years of hard work. You know what I mean? And then diving into something and just grinding and learning as you go and slowly improving. I'm sure if you sat back at that point, you were about to do it, John, you probably could have come up with 100 different reasons why you shouldn't do it. But you're like, you know what? I'm just going to dive into this. I'm going to grind my ass out and try and do the best I can. And then kind of having the family congratulations on the marriages and the child and the next one to come, dude. But having them would have kind of, I suppose, fulfilled something inside of you that when you're doing the music now, it's like you're under no false apprehensions just to be able to get your music, to be able to, some dude over in Australia is cranking and rocking out to Judicator, and then you're going over to Europe to play a festival in there. I suppose now you can really appreciate just these milestones for what they are, and how many other bands don't even get that opportunity to be able to do that because, one, they can't grind, and two, they've probably told themselves a million reasons why they can't do it.
Yeah, I mean, so much of it is mental, for better or worse. And that has really been a process, managing expectations with what's realistic, and trying to, while doing that, also manage your mental health, which comes with, I think you need to have love in your life and a sense of belonging, community. And that's stuff that we touch on in Concord as well.
Well, that's I know that. I know you're having your music as well, and that's something that's also very important for me, even just to talk about it in interviews, talk about mental health. And I notice bands and more people, especially in our scene, it's really important for people to talk about mental health and bring that to light as well, because it is a hard time sometimes, and it is good that the community is kind of fucking sticking together and lifting each other up. Another thing that's going to be really good for mental health, pardon the pun there, is that Epic Fest in Denmark, which my family is originally from Denmark a couple of generations ago, dude. How cool is that? You must be really psyched about it. I know we did chat almost exactly a year ago about this, but it is like, I think it is your debut European performance. Yeah, was it? Or did we mention that? Yeah. Are you keen for that? And I think it's a few days before, 5 days or something before the release of the album. So you kind of get to play some tracks off of it too, and catch up with some people. Besides that fest there, is there anything else you guys are planning, or just kind of get that and get out?
Well, so much of our attention has been on the whole album cycle and then preparation for Epic Fest. Yes, we have a performance at a Canadian metal festival a little bit later this year. It isn't announced yet, so all I can say is if you're in the western half of Canada, then you might have an ability to see us soon. Aside from that, cool. Though, we really just have those two festival appearances for this year, and we have already begun work on the next album, and we will be releasing a handful of singles throughout the rest of this year and next year. So we're staying busy, that's for sure.
Damn straight. I'm looking forward to it all. I can't wait to get my hot little hands on that Concord album, dude. It's going to be absolute ripper. Jim, do you have anything else to chuck in there, my friend?
I don't. I just want to say thank you so much for coming on, man. I think your band is incredible. I started, really my foray into heavy metal was very power metal. And I don't want to label you guys, and we never want to label here, but my God, just listening to it just elevates your soul when you hear and not only you want to go into your lyrics and be like, oh shit, he's talking about Napoleon. He's talking about different. That's very cool. And then there's a old world nostalgia to that, and then but having the modern touch of the aggression of heavy metal. I think it's a beautiful thing.
That's it.
And
you go, John.
Oh, you're fine. Just we've done so much in our discography that is kind of bleak and more on the depressive side. So with Concord, it was kind of a breath of fresh air to be able to kind of embrace a little bit more of that unabashed positivity or spirituality, or it's going to be okay, like that positive energy.
Yes, sir.
It has been really refreshing. And I know that the band, you mentioned playing songs off of Concord live moving forward. Everybody in the band is very excited to play songs from this album. So to that end, at Epic Fest and this other Canadian festival, we're going to be performing 4 or 5 songs off the new album. It's going to be very Concord heavy moving forward.
Damn straight. And Jim, I don't know if you checked it out, but you got to go check out the guest appearance that John does with Hansi from Blind Guardian. It's an absolute ripper, and everybody needs to go out and grab some bloody Judicator, chuck it in the stereos, crank it up really loud for the neighbors. John, do you have any last words, shout outs, thank yous, or anything else you'd like to add in there, my friend?
Just a big thank you to both of you guys. Really appreciate your time and consideration. And sorry to hear you didn't get the album. I'll send you a message after this because we're friends on Facebook. Yeah. So, I'll reach out to you after this at some point. And Jim too, if you like. I don't know if we're friends on Facebook.
No, because I was about to ask. Oh, we're not. Thanks. Rude.
No, thanks, John.
No.
Don't be a stranger. Yeah.
I'm teasing. No. Seriously.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much, awesome. Mate. Much love. Cheers, dude.
Oi, you're tuned in to Jai That Aussie Metal Guy, so make sure to hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss any of his sick content. And remember, stay brutal, you legend.